Welcome to the podcast for June. And we're in a very interesting time at the moment with Mercury in retrograde. And needless to say, Denny and I have had massive internet problems this morning, so have been unable to record our podcast together. So we've decided that the best way forward is for us to record individually, and then we're going to put those two individual readings together and hope that that somehow comes together as the podcast for this week. So apologies for the way that we're presenting it today, but I think it's just a sign of the times that we're in. So I'm going to dive in and talk as quickly as I can and hope that my internet doesn't drop out in the middle of this conversation. And I'm going to bring, first of all, the numerology for the month of June. So we're currently sitting in week 22 of 2021, and we are transitioning into the energies with a lot of 2 energy. So whilst June is the 6th month of the year, it is also regarded as a 2-month when added to the universal 5-year that we're currently transitioning through. So the 6 and the 5 added together becomes 11. The 11, of course, is a master number. So it makes June an 11-2 month. If you also add this to the 10-week cycle that we're currently in, where all the week numbers start with 2, and then the decade of the 2020s, and the millennium of the 2000s, then you can really see how much of an influence 2, or the archetype, the energy of 2, is having on us as we start the month of June. So the 11-2 energy of June itself also means that the influences of 1 are heightened this month. 1 represents the self, the ego. It's all about self-identity, independence, courage. It's a very masculine energy in nature. And it really holds the sort of qualities of strength, of leadership, of self-reliance. And 2 represents the feminine. It's about connection, relationships, and magnetism, what you're going to attract to you. As these 2 energies are so strong throughout June, it feels very much as if you're going to continue the journey into balancing the masculine and feminine aspects of self. Now, the feminine aspects of the 2 archetype are really guiding you into a deeper understanding of yourself. It really helps you to fulfill the embodiment of your spiritual self at the physical level. So bringing your spiritual side into your physical presence, becoming more in tune with who you really are. But I want to take a moment really in this podcast to explore the 2 master numbers that are in play this month. And they are the 11 and the 22 archetypes. Now, master numbers bring opportunities to master the energies that they represent. And you are likely, therefore, to sense these numbers and these energies during this month. 11 is the most intuitive of all numbers. So insight, illumination, enlightenment are all words that describe the energies of 11. 11 is also the ultimate male and female energy, as the double 1 adds up to 2. 11 holds all the aspects of the 2, but it is also a number of duality. And when its influences are at play, you can find yourself swinging from, say, high to low, or spiritual to material, or masculine to feminine, or practical to impractical. So 11 literally walks the path between greatness and self-destruction. So it brings potential for inner growth, stability, and personal power. But this will really depend on the level of connection you currently hold with your own spiritual truths. And then if we look at 22, this is a very powerful number known as the Master Builder. It really synthesizes and expands the energy of 11. So it holds the inspirational insights of 11, but combines it with the practicality and methodical sort of nature of the 4 archetype. 2 add 2 equals 4. So with this energy, you may feel unlimited in your potential, but also feel guided to take practical action towards your intentions. So if you forget to take practical action, then you're likely to miss the opportunities that arise for you this month. So there's a lot going on with the 2 and the 1 archetypes as we step into June. And those are the energies that I want to focus on, particularly for the beginning of June. And we're going to look more in depth in further podcasts throughout the month at the 6 energies and how these are also combining to bring certain experiences or certain support for you at this time. I want to give you now a message that I connected into through the Akasha this morning for the month of June. And this message felt a little more gentle than some of the previous messages have felt recently, but also very nurturing. So this message was basically to say, take time for yourself this month. Rest, recuperate, spend precious time on your own. You are integrating a lot of changes internally and externally. And the greatest gift that you can give to yourself is to honor your need for the space to embody fully the changes within. So let go of any thoughts that this time for yourself is selfish. Let go of any need to pursue your to-do list. Let go of anything that takes you away from self-care. Remember your deep soul truth, and that is to honor yourself with grace and with love before you share your gifts with others. So that was a beautiful message from the Akasha for the month of June. And then the card that I pulled this week was this one called Earth Horse. And I really love the picture on this card. It says, salt of the earth, patience and focus, and conserve your energy now. And that really seems to align with this beautiful message from the Akasha. I think June is a month of recuperation. It feels very definitely like a month of integration. And when we're integrating, particularly a lot of changes, we also need to give ourselves the space and the time for those integrations to take place. So I'm sure Denny is going to have a wonderful message for you in terms of the influences from the cosmos. And I look forward to hearing what those are myself. But for now, I'll pass you over to Denny.
Hi, everyone. It's Denny here. I'm sure you've listened to Fiona and she's given you what's going on this week and why we're appearing separately. I have also tried to record this on my own and my computer's cut out a couple of times. I've got some dude that's on a drill downstairs. It almost feels like I'm not meant to record this, but I'm going to stick with it because I really do want to give a little bit of guidance or help, or just I'm here with you during this next month that we've got coming up, June. I'm going to start with the card that I chose, and it's the same deck I usually use, the Wild Unknown Archetypes deck. And the card is Eros, which is beautiful. It's one of the last cards in the deck, which speaks to, I guess, the energies, the wider energies that are out there. And Eros is a beautiful card that speaks to the root of our desire. It also has a feeling of this spiral feeling about it. If we just keep walking our path, we will find ourselves to the center of it all and to where we're meant to be. And that felt like a really beautiful message right now, because I think it can feel like we're in really a confusing place. Nothing seems to be making sense right now. We can also feel like we don't know which direction to take, whether we're on the right path, whether we're doing what we're meant to be doing. Lots of things can be coming up right now. It can be really, really confusing. So this card just speaks to take the next step, just walk ahead, and you will find yourself, even if it doesn't feel like it, you will find yourself exactly where you need to be. And those questions may come up. What is real? What is true? Who is speaking the truth? Is this the way I go? Just have a greater faith and trust that you are moving in the right direction and that you will find your way through this time. The two things I want to speak to about June and what's coming up for June, there's a lot, but I don't want to add to the confusion. There's a lot of energies that are probably helping this time be quite confusing and have us in a bit of a state of not knowing. So rather than add to that by telling you a million things that are happening out there in the cosmos, I'm just going to speak to two. One is the solar eclipse on the 10th in Gemini. We are right in the midst of eclipse season right now. We're in the middle of the two. The solar eclipse on the 10th is in Gemini, the planet of communication, the sign of communication, should I say. But the planet of communication, Mercury, is right in the mix as well. We have the Earth, the Moon, Mercury, and the Sun all going to be in alignment with each other. And Mercury will be in retrograde or moving backward. So that's in that kind of introspective time. It can be when we have problems communicating, hence this podcast. This one feels bigger than normal, particularly that it's right there in its sign and it's right in the midst of this solar eclipse. It feels like Mercury retrograde on crack. So if you have communication that needs to be had right now, I suggest you just maybe hold off. It's an internal time. It's a time for looking within and maybe just having those conversations within. You may find that you're pushing against the waters, the tides, if you're going to try and go the other way and have those big conversations in relationship, or if you try and go about any kind of negotiation or contracts in work. Maybe it's not the time to have those conversations with kids, or try and start arguments or try and start serious conversations with them. I need to tell this to myself at the moment. Just maybe hold off for the month of June. Let's get through the eclipses. Let's get through Mercury being in retrograde. He'll come out of it at the end of June, and then see where we are. The second biggest thing, and this is a big thing for the theme for the entire year, is Saturn and Uranus going into an exact square. So this happens 3 times this year. The first was back in February. This is the second time in June, and the third one will happen just before Christmas. The first one, I certainly felt like it was Saturn that spoke the loudest. Saturn is the rule maker, the conformist structure. And he's coming up against Uranus, who is the rule breaker, the nonconformist, anarchy. And that place of not really loving rules. It's really comfortably in me. I like to be a little bit unstructured. And what I've found that since that first square of these two back in February, that I've been in this place of putting into my life some really good structure. My word for the year was consistency. So I've kind of been a little bit consistent. I've definitely had structure there with within my kind of creative flow that I like to sit in. And I guess that's where the tussle between the two has sat with me. As we come into the next one, Saturn will be in retrograde. So Uranus will take the lead here. So you may find that the rule breaker shows up a lot stronger in this next lot of months going forward until December. Where in December we might find some balance between these two. But I guess things to take into your awareness and to look at are, where do these two sit within you? Which one are you more comfortable with? Does it need to be one over the other? Where can we bring in both to bring in balance in our life? It could feel between like where you work and fun, or serving and just relaxing and enjoying. There could be good versus bad, however that looks in your way. If you can see those two come up, then just be with the two. Know that it doesn't need to be one or the other. The spiritual world, and then the world of the mundane, the doing, the taking care of the housework. We all have these polarities, and one probably pulls us more than the other at times. But just some things to really think about is, does it need to be one way or the other? Instead of but, could we introduce the word and? So it's this and this and this and this, rather than it needing to be, I need to go down this path. And so therefore that isn't the way for me. It's about integration and acceptance of our polarities. The polarities are coming out so strongly in the world, but ultimately they're just a reflection of where those polarities are within. So those big questions that might be around you at the moment, just taking them internal. Where are they within me? Where does the rule maker sit in me? Where do I just want to not follow anybody or anything? And is there a different way? I mean, ultimately, I think we're all being guided to our own code, to our own way. Regardless of what we're seeing outside of us. I know there's a lot of opinions and people saying this is the way, this is the way. It's just not clear what is the way. I think for a lot of us, where we think one thing and then the next day something else comes up, and I don't know where I sit on so many things. What I do know is that I won't listen blindly to anybody without really feeling into what feels true for me. And I think that's a bigger piece as we progress into this year, and as we progress towards that third conjunction, or square, sorry, not conjunction, with Saturn and Uranus. So can we be okay in the unknown state that we're in right now? Can we just trust that the path may not be clear, but there is a path? And if we just keep going, if we just keep putting one foot in front of the other, that the path will reveal itself when it needs to. It's there, even if it's a bit smoky or cloudy at the moment. I'm going to leave it there because something else will probably happen to my computer or to this recording if I leave it going much longer. I'll also point you all to the interview we did over the last week with a Catherine Intuitive Conduit. She has a beautiful offering for readings. Readings can be a really beautiful way to get a little bit more insight into what's happening for you personally. She channels dragon energy, which it's kind of amazing when you tap into it. It feels very otherworldly. We don't need to let our rational brains come into that at all. Just open to it and see what they have for you. We'll be back, Fiona and I, hopefully together next week to look a little bit more clearly into the first week. Until then, I send you lots of love. Go gently, and we'll see you next week. Bye.